we've played against each other many a times, and there's obviously the funny story that's grown arms and legs where I was on the floor on top of you
when arms and legs were flying.
Exactly, of course, yeah. But that might have even catapulted me to become the self-proclaimed enforcer that it was known as. How are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, flying, yeah.
Mate, it's night time. It's dark in Edinburgh. Is
it actually?
Afternoon there, where you are?
There's a grand old stretch in the evenings now.
Lovely. Mate, congrats on the weekend.
Thanks. Yeah.
Not just the win, but personally, 262. Is it 262 games for Leinster?
262, yeah. All the stars aligned. It was mad. It was like to get it in a final in the RDS against Munster. It was ridiculous. So it was just kind of all came together at once, and to win it was brilliant. So.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll put it in on Wikipedia because I have to do a little bit of research. Obviously, I can't just blag these interviews anymore.
Exactly.
I couldn't find how many Ireland caps you've got, but I found out off another Irish newspaper, The Independent, 70 Ireland caps. So that's right, is it?
Yeah, 70. Yeah.
Mate, and how old are you now?
I'm 34. Yeah. So
it's a lot of that is a lot of top end rugby.
It's a fair bit of rugby belt, yeah. That's what I get for not getting injured. Like,
yeah,
it just stands. It stands to me. Like, it stood to me over the year. Like, I keep on telling people, like, that's why I got picked in the first place. I got picked for Ireland when Paulie got injured, and I got picked for Leinster when Leo got injured. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of hung in there.
No, stars align, mate. Well, that's one of the big things I wanted to chat to you about, because we've played against each other many a times, and there's obviously the funny story that's grown arms and legs where I was on the floor on top of you
when arms and legs were flying.
Exactly, of course, yeah. But that might have even catapulted me to become the self-proclaimed enforcer that it was known as. But I think it's mad that you're 34, you're still going, right, and the backlog of games that you've played, the amount of rugby that you've played. And I say that with the greatest respect, because although your stats say 6'11", I think you're about 6'5", 6'6". I think that's over egging it.
Smaller than you.
Smaller than me, just exactly. But mate, you don't see anyone my height really playing the game anymore. Let alone, I mean, you standing at 6'10" or 6'11", or let's just call it 7'2" anymore. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed watching is how you've evolved personally, has not just been this line-out forward, which we were, because we were tall and we were lanky, and that's what it was. We need a line-out forward and you need a heavy lock. Mm-hmm. So actually the physicality that you brought into your game, and I'll take you back to a game where I remember it. Let's hope that it was you that was playing, but I think it was Northampton in about 2019, so a couple of years ago. There were fans. Yeah. And I remember Naivoro coming on the short line, and you've absolutely melted him in the tackle. And not that I hadn't seen you do that before, but then having kept a keen eye, obviously, on Leinster, because you boys are good, but you've been able to evolve your game physically, not just being a line-out forward. Is that something that you found difficult, or something that you've worked on consciously because you know the game's evolved?
It's not something I probably worked on consciously. I think it's something that just kind of happened or evolved over time, because as a team we've obviously been getting better and better over the years, and like, I think once your system and once your defensive system gets better, you as a player get better defensively, and I think as a team, if everyone's in sync and everyone's like calling up who you're hitting or who's coming where and looking for threats, I think you naturally are going to get in the right position to make a good hit. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose physically, I've just been trying to put my body a bit more in the way of other big lads. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's just evolved over time, to be honest. I didn't make a conscious decision.
Yeah, because you see these young pups coming through now. Not that you don't look pretty when you're carrying the ball, or whether you go for the low tackle, but you look at guys like Ryan Baird, who I've been really impressed with. Yeah. Obviously, James Ryan, who we're all fanboying over, like Maro Itoje, Johnny Gray, Scott Cummins. Yeah. Guys in our position who are not just tall, they're big, they're powerful. Have you noticed a big difference I don't know how many games you played with Leo, but I played with Leo Cullen and played with some of the old school, even Nathan Hines to that degree. Have you noticed a big difference with these lads coming through?
Absolutely, it's a different kettle of fish now these days. Like, do you know what I mean? Lads are, we're training with lads. Like when most of the squad were out in the Six Nations, like we had all the young lads, all the academy and sub academy guys in training with us, and they're all like 19, like 20. Like, do you know what I mean? They're saying they were born in 2002. And I'm like, I was in fourth year when you were born. Like, it's just mad. But just seeing them come through and how they're able to be so dynamic and running with the ball and carrying the ball, and their rugby knowledge is so much better now. Like, I came out of school and I didn't know anything. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't lifted a weight. I was absolutely shy. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's they're coming out of school so much more equipped to play the game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you can see that. I was the same. I didn't do weight. Believe it or not, I didn't do weights till I was about 17. Yeah. Everyone nods when I normally say that. But while we're on Ryan Baird and James Ryan and these kind of young lads coming through, like, that's one of the most impressive things about the Leinster thing. We can maybe touch on that a little bit later. But what are they like in the gym? Is it what we think? That they're not just rugby players, they're unbelievable athletes as well. Because Ryan Baird looks like he's got the body of a 28-year-old farmer, athlete, NFL. He looks unbelievable. I don't know what he's like with his kit off, but is he like that in the gym? Is he this kind of modern day athlete?
Yeah, he's pretty impressive. I think he used to be a runner. I think someone used to tell me he used to be like a 400-meter runner or something in school, like, and he was in the centres and then he came back and went to the forwards. Like, so I think he's obviously naturally very explosive. So like his hang clean or his like all that sort of stuff would be quite impressive. And obviously James Ryan would be lifting quite heavy in the gym. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be lifting half what the lads would be lifting. Like, I'm just trying not to get injured at this stage. Like,
it's so funny. Yeah, in my last couple of years at your age, when I was at Saracens, me and Scout Berger would be in the gym, and Marrow and George Cruz and these lads would be doing these ass to grass squats with 150, 180 kgs. We were on the foam rollers in the corner, just watching them, just on our phones.
That's me and Fards. Me and Scott Fardy are over in the corner doing hex bar deadlift off boxes that are about a foot high, just trying not to hurt our backside.
Yeah, no, the new school and the old school. Mate, Leinster, unbelievable team, unbelievable squad. History, everything around it. Spoke to Stuart Lancaster on the podcast this week, which was absolutely amazing. But from the outside looking in, there's a few models in world rugby that you look at and you'd be like, yeah, they've got it right. One's obviously down in New Zealand, just with the conveyor belt of players that they've got coming through. One of them was Saracens, until we obviously know the obvious. And then the other obvious one is you guys at Leinster. It isn't just your first team, the Premier team, whatever team you put out, is just unbelievable. Where are these players coming from? Because even if they don't make it at Leinster, we're seeing the top of Ulster, Munster, Connacht.
Yeah, they're coming from the school systems. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously you do get one or two from the clubs. You get some of the country boys coming in, but I think a lot of them are coming from the school system. Like, do you know what I mean? And as I said already, what they're doing in fourth year, fifth year, sixth year of school is making them so well equipped to play the professional game. Like, you've got one particular school, St. Michael's, it was close. Like, you've got about 15 lads in the squad from that school. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think it's just equipping them so well to play professional rugby. It's ridiculous. And I think, as I said, like, I think Stuart might have said to you, like, we've used 57 players this year, like, and so many young lads are just getting their debuts this year. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's a really good place to be.
This is one of the rumours that I've heard. So, like in NFL, right? So you've got the NFL teams, and you've got the league below, then you've got the colleges that are all sold out. Everyone's screaming, and like everyone wants to play college football or basketball. And you actually hear that the coaches that they've got have arguably paid more than the coaches at NFL. It might be rumour or not, but chatting to the lads at RugbyPass who, we were based in Dublin before, they said it's a similar model with the Black Rocks and the St. Michael's, that the coaches are at that high standard that they're almost paid like professional coaches.
Can't really comment because I don't really know. I don't know how much they're paid.
Are they driving flash cars or not?
I don't know, but like Leinster have a good few talent scouts as well. I think. Do you remember Trevor Hogan? He used to play with Leinster. He's big in the talents scout industry here now. He's keeping a guy, and I think it's a really it's really hard time for them now because the schools haven't been around for the past year. So it's really hard to identify the talent at the minute. So I think they're really trying to. They're having a hard time kind of seeing what's available coming out of school now. So we'll see in the next year or two if it has been affected at all. But I think obviously the player development officers as well have been brilliant in Leinster, and I think over the years they've really tried to get it right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that they have, and one of the other things as well, maybe not so obvious, but because I follow it and played against you lads a lot, is not just the homegrown talent that you've got, but you always add in the odd special talent. So Issa Nasimwa, Rocky Alsam, Wagger, Nathan Hines, James Lowe, I've probably missed a couple of other names, obviously Scott Vardy as well, is there almost seems to have been like a purpose, actively trying to get certain individuals to come and just be in and around the Leinster squad, but they always do so well. Is that a conscious thing, do you think? Or is it just the stars aligning with these characters coming in playing so well? Contapomi, who's obviously coaching setup.
I think they've just made a lot of good decisions over the years. I mean, obviously there's only so many NIQ players you can have in the squad, and I think they've just been very lucky with the ones that they've been able to get. Obviously, you mentioned Rocky. Rocky came for one season, won the Heineken Cup for us, and then left. Like, you know what I mean? So
is that it? Was he just there for 1 year?
Yeah, just for one season. Yeah, in 2009. Yeah. And then, so he did his job with it. And Issa came and became an absolute legend. I think he's one of the best players, the best player to ever play for Leinster. He was absolutely phenomenal for the club. Do you know what I mean? So there's been so many. I think Heinze was here for 2 years and he left a big imprint. I think obviously Brad Thorne came for 3 months. Do you know what I mean? And he left a big imprint as well. Like, so I think they just made really good decisions on who to bring in. And I can't not mention Farage as well. Farage has been here for 4 years. You know what I mean? And he hasn't lost a Pro 14. Do you know what I mean? He's won the league every year he's been here. Like, so he's been vital for the younger lads of the squad. Because he's obviously there when all the Ireland guys are away, and he's taking everyone under his wing. And he's just showing them how to be a good professional. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's been brilliant. Yeah,
he's class. I did a bit of research on his backstory as well when he was in Japan and the tsunami and stuff that they had going on there that he helped.
He never stops going on about how much he helped over there. Never stops going on about
it. So humble. That's his story.
Yeah,
waiting to bring out the book.
Exactly.
I'll get him on next week. We can talk about it. See if we can sell 3 or 4 books for him.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about these influences, and I'm absolutely loving it because I look at you guys playing and the way that you play and the way that you go about your business. It's brilliant. I mentioned Stuart Lancaster. Having him on the podcast for us was huge because not just because he's an amazing coach, but because of his backstory as well and how quietly he came over to you lads at a really tough time. It would have been personally for him, but also the impact that he's had. What kind of effects has Stuart Lancaster had on the team? Like, did you feel the underlying issues that he had from 2015? You must have known about them when he came.
Well, we knew about them, but no, to be honest, we didn't really feel it at all. I think he came in probably a little bit under the radar, and then he came in and he just revolutionized. Do you know what I mean? He's the all-round coach because he actually does like our attacking philosophy and our defensive philosophy as well. Like, do you mean? And then obviously Felipe does the moves and the patterns for the backs, and we've got obviously forwards and Leo does the whole thing. But Stu is the rugby brain behind it all. Do you know what I mean? He's his knowledge of the game, and he really loves seeing the younger guys getting better. Do you know what I mean? And he talks about it all the time, and he's always learning. He's always telling us of who he's been talking to, who he's been learning from, and he's always really he's always good at passing it on to the next coach as well. So I think he's phenomenal in the amount of work that he puts through, in the analysis that he does, and he's always learning. Do you know what I mean? So he's been absolutely phenomenal for the club.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so understated because you'd have to see it to believe it. So chatting to you and chatting to anyone in Ireland says that Stu's influences, Lanny's influences is like, it's unbelievable. Like, and then you chat to people in England and stuff, and maybe it's just a different mindset. It's a different time. But
I think it's probably different for national coaches and provincial coaches. You know what I mean? So with Leinster, he's in with us every day. Do you know what I mean? With England, they have a couple of camps, and he wouldn't have he wouldn't have enough time to implement what he wants to implement. You know what I mean? So with Leinster, he was able to come in on the ground floor and work with all the young guys every day and work with us every day and get his philosophies and everything in place. Do you know what I mean? So we're able to learn and do it every day. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's hard in a national setup to do that.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about Leo as well. So me and Leo played at Leicester together. So we played in a team with Martin Johnson, Ben Kay, Lewis Deacon. So there was a core of decent second rows, right? They brought Leo in, didn't know much about him. Yeah. But if anyone was to say to me who had the biggest influence on my career, it was Leo Cullen. And I say that because we were probably quite similar, like in terms of not overly quick, not overly powerful, not overly gifted, but quite raw, bit of a nose, quite physical. But he taught me how to run a line out. And if it wasn't for Leo, arguably I wouldn't have played for Scotland for as long as I did, because I wouldn't have been able to call a line out. What kind of influences Leo had on yourself and being a line out caller and playing at the age and playing how well you're playing?
It's the exact same that he had with me. Do you know what I mean? So he obviously went over to Leicester in 05, was it? 05, 06 maybe? Came back in 07, I think it was. Or somewhere around then anyway. So I was maybe on a development contract in my first year in the senior squad when he came back. And he pretty much came back with a whole new way of calling a line out. Do you know what I mean? And he revolutionized how we call it. And like, I literally coming in as a 20-year-old learning off him it's been absolutely phenomenal for my career. Do you know what I mean? It was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And it's just his analysis of the opposition and just his philosophies of how to call a line out was brilliant for me. Like,
and then off the back of that, we're talking of line outs. May as well talk a bit about Paul O'Connell and the Ireland team. Yeah. Again, I'm name dropping everyone like I speak to them all the time, but randomly I spoke to Paulie 3 weeks ago just on the phone, and naturally we got onto line outs. We were talking about whiskey, and then we started talking about line outs.
All right.
But it's easy to say, Paul O'Connell's gone to the Ireland team, therefore the line out's going to be better. But since he's gone, the line out's better. But, what kind of influence did Paulie have on you? And
he's obviously Leo. I was a Leo with Leinster, and then I got picked. I got capped in 2010. We got 3 caps, and then didn't get capped again until 2013. Like, so, when in 2013, that's when I kind of starting regularly. So it was me and Paulie in the second row in that Six Nations, and I suppose it was really good for me in that Six Nations because he was doing the calling. So I was able to just focus on what I had to do. So I was able to kind of learn how he did things and how he was able to put a menu together. And then he'd obviously just call. I'd try and do my thing. Do you know what I mean? So learning from him that way was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then off the back of that, Dev, like, obviously we're messaging a little bit about it, but the stuff around the Ireland situation and how your time came to an end, I think it is. I mean, you've not retired from Ireland, have you?
No,
never. You're not like me and threw toys out the pram when you got dropped from the squad in 2019. But like, how was that? Like, I know when we did speak a couple of years ago, you seemed like you were burnt by the situation and obviously a bit down. Like, how are you about the situation now? Do you still feel a little bit like that?
I'm just as disappointed with how it ended. Do you know what I mean? Well, it was so like I didn't get picked for the World Cup, and that was a huge blow. I didn't see it coming. I didn't think there was a chance that I wouldn't go. So
because it was John Klein. It was John Klein who got picked ahead of you, who is at Munster and one of the project players, I suppose, if I'm not speaking out of turn. So that was right.
Like I don't know if it was a straight shootout between the two of us, but he was one of the locks that went. Do you know what I mean? So I was obviously behind a lot of them. Like looking back on it, I'm thinking to myself, I obviously didn't show enough in the preseason games, or I didn't obviously work hard enough, or I didn't show enough to be selected. But again, I was just disappointed with how it ended. But then obviously the following Six Nations, Faz picked me in, and I got 3 more caps. So that was a better way to finish, I suppose. To get a bit of closure, I suppose, was good.
Dev, let's just have a look at this weekend then. Is it tough playing there's games every single week. There's just an hour into Europe, which feels weird.
I know.
Just play the final. Is it all a bit weird going into Europe now?
It is pretty weird, yeah. Obviously the final, and then we were just into a Friday kickoff, so 6-day turnaround is hard enough. But yeah, Toulon this weekend is going to be a huge one. Again, just big game after big game. So against a very big team. So it's like they're a pack of monsters. Like, so we're going to have a tough game, but hopefully we'll get through it.
Dev, how long you got in you, mate? How many more years are you going to keep going? Have you got any ambition to go and smash it in Japan? They'd love you in Japan. Have you got any ambition to do anything slightly different?
I've got, I'd say I have a year or two left in me, to be honest. I'm currently still in negotiations, so whatever happens. I think whatever happens, it'll be probably released in the next little while. But
there's something happening, is there?
Well, no, I don't. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, so there's no exclusive now.
I'm not in a position to say anything at the minute.
Yeah, no, good stuff, mate. Well, last question then. It came from one of the guys at RugbyPass, because on the GAA, I've not seen much of it, is obviously big in Ireland, but Graham Geraghty or Tommy Dowd?
Tommy Dowd.
Why?
Tommy Dowd was he was a childhood hero of mine. He was a full forward for Meath. So was Graham Geraghty was a Meath legend as well. Like, they're both legends for Meath, but I'd have Tommy Dowd.
Yeah, and then last question then, for any of the tall lads coming in, the rangy, athletic lads coming through the system. And I think I heard somewhere again in the research that I've done that in Ireland they were actively looking for lads that had a frame of 6'7", 6'8". Is this true or not?
Yeah, what do they call it? They called it. I remember doing the promo shoot for it. It was me and Malcolm O'Kelly, and we went out. Do you know the
Route 66?
Route 66, Route 6'6". That's what it was called.
Yeah. And whose idea was that?
I think it was either Colin McEntee was the academy manager in Leinster that stage. I think it might have been his, but I remember he brought me and Mal out to you know the chimney stacks in Dublin. He brought us out to there and had a photo shoot out there, looking for tall basketball lads or tall GGA lads to get in. Like, but I don't know if anything came from it, but I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, and any of these, because there'll be hundreds of thousands of people watching this, it'll be wondering, you've got two giants of the game, literally two heroes, two legends that have gone about their business athletically and done it. Like, is there anything that you think back on your career that, you wish you worked on? Like, we obviously didn't weight train. These lads are coming through their weight training. One of the things for me was, I wish I was quicker and more athletic and stretched more, and arguably these things. But we don't want to see the death of, the long kangaroos and giraffes.
Exactly. We need the second row who likes his food, who doesn't get injured because he doesn't run fast.
Exactly. Who has the long calf? People used to take the piss out of the calves. I've actually got really muscly calves. It's just my legs are so long.
Me too. I've never pulled a calf. Do you know what I mean? Just because they're so long.
Yeah, exactly. Any advice though, Dev, for these young lads coming through? Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on them now, isn't there?
The big lads. Joe, when I came into the academy first, Malcolm O'Kelly said to me, "You're going to have lads either side of you lifting twice as much. Don't try and be the same as them. Do you mean you're trying to break your back doing it?" So I took that on board. Do you mean I didn't try and match them? I just did what I could. Do you know what I mean? And was just trying to get better from what I did the previous week. So it's not to try and smash it, I suppose.
Exactly. Don't try and look good. Don't try and look like a
exactly.
Or a
I never wanted to get too big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
That's why. But Dev, mate, awesome. It's been great not just playing against you. I know we've had a few comical interactions over the years and playing and a little bit after. But congratulations on the weekend, and hopefully it's 262 and many more to come.
Thanks very much, Jim. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, buddy.